controversy is nothing new for Florida. And we have a few things that could be viewed as beneficial, and then we have a few things that could be viewed as harmful. It's up to you to decide. When we talk about new rules for living in Florida in 2023, we're getting after that next. Okay, so here's one of the probably most controversial things that we're going to be talking about this week, and that is the new bill that was just passed, signed off on by Governor DeSantis. Again, you either love him or hate him, but he signed off on a permitless carry bill that will allow people to carry a weapon, a handgun, concealed, and they don't need a permit for it anymore. Now, there are goods and bads to this, right? We have more people that could potentially stop some kind of mass shooting happening. We could have somebody stop something that is harmful to a group of people. But we also could have people with short tempers now have access to something that could hurt somebody. We also found that in this bill that was signed that you don't have to have any special training. You don't have to show that you know how to load the gun, use the gun, aim the gun, hit a target, nothing. So that could be a little problematic. I can't say that I'm on board with that. I do have a permit already for a concealed carry. And remember, this is concealed carry. This is an open carry. You're not going to be strapping a AR-15 over your shoulder and walking down the street, and you're not going to have the gun in a holster on your hip openly like a police officer would. But this is just a step in the direction of giving people some freedom, giving some security, maybe hopefully making some responsible people, a benefactor to the community. But once again, this is going to hit a lot of controversy as it becomes enacted, especially if anything goes sideways as it begins July 1st of this year. Hey everybody, my name's Cunha. I'm a real estate agent here in Southwest Florida. If you're looking for a channel to tell you a little bit more about what it's like to live, play, eat, sleep, and buy real estate on the Gulf Coast, this is the channel for you. Go ahead and subscribe, hit the little bell to make sure you're notified every time, and go ahead and start your property search at ournextfloridahome.com or on our mobile app, Our Next Florida Home. This is the way I make a living, is selling real estate. And if you have a question that these videos don't answer, then please do what everyone else does to get your answers. You've got to call, text, or email because I've got your back when moving to the Gulf Coast. Okay, another thing that Governor DeSantis did put into place is he was allowing for tolls to be cut for high traffic users, for people that are on the road all the time. And the number is pretty high. It's more than one per day for these tolls. So you have to be over 35 different times going through these tolls for the 50% to be enacted. But this program is also short-lived. I think it's a test phase. It's only for a year to see how this goes, but it's also to give that discount to some of the families that might be hurting with income. We've heard it over and over and over, how Florida's not affordable to live. Once again, those are choices you make, whether it's in the type of home you live, the area you live in, your expenses in your life, whatever that is. This is just one of the expenses that we can kind of help with cutting back for high users, and maybe soften the blow of that monthly expense to you. Now here's something for your home. This came up the other day. Somebody posted on Facebook, hey man, my AC stopped running. There's this little white thing on the side. What am I supposed to do with this? Okay, that little white thing that's on your AC unit is a float switch. A float switch is there so that if the drain on the AC, there's a drain line that will allow the extra moisture to drip out to the outside of your home. If that gets stopped up, it backs up the water. The water then collects into this little float switch. And at that point, that switch is supposed to turn off the AC. So you will not have air conditioning until the water is out of the line. So first thing you can do is pop the top off of that white little cylinder and see if there's water in there. If there's water in there, you've got something stopping it up. It's most likely the algae that builds up. When we have our AC units running a lot, it gets stopped up. It's this kind of slimy stuff that builds up inside there. So you take a shop vac to the side of the house and you turn it on, you suck that crap out. After it comes out, put the float switch back in place. Everything should be running again. It is just a quick fix. It's something to get the system back running. You're supposed to put vinegar down that drain line, not bleach, I've been already warned not to use bleach, but they say vinegar will help that from building up. Also, I happen to be on a 6-month service on my AC. I'm doing it just because they do stuff like this. They clean the drain line. They clean all your coils in there, change your filters, and if there's any parts that are going bad or need like they look like they need replaced, they take care of that. I even put the UV light inside because I was starting to get mold growth inside of my AC unit. These are all preventative things. Did I want to spend the money for the UV light? No, but guess what? When he came back from my last service in February, he said there was no mold. So it was doing its job. It was doing exactly what I needed it to do because I have allergies. I believe my son also has allergies, and mold going through our AC unit is not going to help anything. All right, so as summer approaches and we get to these 90-degree days, which we're already getting 90 degrees days, just not so much humidity. But there's a protocol for getting in your car when it's hot like this. Florida it can be deathly hot inside your car. Obviously, that's why you do not leave pets in there. Don't even leave them inside with a running engine and windows cracked because it's still going to get warm in there. Anyway, outside of that, if you want to prep yourself, prep your car, if you have a remote start, start with that. Hit the remote start, let it run, let the AC, it's probably preset already. AC will cool things off for you, that's great. If you don't have that, just saying, open the door, let all the hot air out, start the engine real quick, roll the windows down, get all the hot out, start the AC and crank it so it gets nice and cold, and then roll everything back up and sit in comfort. But you gotta clear that hot air first because it's gonna take forever for that car to cool down if that hot air stays inside. That's just part of living in Florida. Now I know solar panels sound cool and the technology sounds awesome, and somebody tells you, I only pay, $5 a month to my electric. Okay, how much were your panels? Oh, $50,000. And how's that paid for? Oh, it's on a loan that's attached to your house. It's called a PACE loan. Problem with the PACE loan, it follows the house. So it will not go away. You can't take it with you. You can't say, hey bank, I'm gonna continue to pay for it even though I sold my property to somebody else. It doesn't work that way. You have to either pay it off or have it transferred to the new buyer. Here's the problem. A lot of lenders will not allow for the transfer to the new buyer. They're not going to take on the financing for it. So you may end up being stuck in your home because of a PACE loan. So be careful when you're making that decision on how you're paying for solar, and make sure you're staying in the home long enough for it to even be a benefit. Again, the amount of money they're talking about saving you, it might sound great at the outset, but if you only end up living there for 2 or 3 years, it's not doing squat for you when you have a $50,000 expense to get it started. Yeah, I know the government has discounts for taxes and blah, 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 but it's still going to cost you money regardless what your monthly electric bill says. All right, pests and new construction. Troy, he is the owner of the inspection company that I use here. And one of the things he posted the other day is how the earth is disrupted when new construction starts, right? So all these ant hills and stuff that are on these vacant lots get disturbed. It gets them all jostled up and confused. Well, they need to find a place to build their next home, right? So as that new construction starts, don't be surprised if they find a place in that home to build their nests. With that said, treating your home, even new construction, with the pest control is a great idea. To at the very least, get it under control before it becomes a problem. If you want to know any more about that, I'll put you in touch with Troy. He can tell you all about it. But I want to make you aware that new construction does also have some small maintenance things to attend to at the beginning if you want to live pest-free. All right, so Florida has a rent control ban. Is that right or wrong? I don't know. It depends on what side of the fence you sit on with that and what your positioning is. Because as an investor or the owner of the home, hey man, I'm sure that you don't want there to be any kind of rent control. You want to be able to make the market value. And the funny thing is, I was thinking more about this. We have no other types of control on prices of cars, food, gas, all these things, they get adjusted when who knows who says it's time to adjust the prices, right? So if there's no kind of a lockdown on those, why should we do it with rent? I know rent is a big expense. I get it. And I know that everybody needs it to live. But you know what? Everybody needs food too. So why don't we just cap how much you charge for food? No, you don't. It's basically supply and demand. And that's the same thing that's happening with housing. Yes, They are trying to fix it, and I'm telling you, if you look around the area, there are dozens of rental buildings coming up. These aren't even condos you can buy. If I wanted to go buy a condo to have the investment, or even to live in that and rent out my house, I can't even do it. These are rental condos, basically, but rental apartments in all these buildings. And there's a lot of them going in. So this whole thing about affordable housing, I don't know how it's all going to break down, but I did hear the other day that one of the complexes, they were going to take 3 buildings and make it low income, and it's literally off of your income. It can be as low as $500 a month. I think the next level is maybe $900 a month, but there's a small section of people in that community that will have this benefit, and then everybody else will pay normal rate. Don't know how you feel about that. Don't know how I feel about that yet because it hasn't taken place, but you have to be aware that that's what's going to be going on in some of these communities. It's going to be a very mixed community based upon the requirements of income to be able to qualify, but that's something that's coming for affordable housing in the very near future. Now, much of the housing being added in the area, there's a massive building right over on Chiquita, just shy of Veterans Parkway, and it's got to be 6 or 7 stories high. This thing is huge. And do you know what it is? Assisted living. Yeah, you figure, oh, no kidding, you have a lot of old people. No, our median age is no longer in the 60s or the 50s. It's actually in the 40s. So the assisted living is there for, well, I'll tell you this. I was talking to Dave the other day, and one of his biggest concerns was, where can I put my mom when I move there? I need an assisted living place. Well, I looked it up. Turns out we have a dozen or so, maybe a couple dozen, just here in the Cape alone. So if assisted living is something that's a concern for you, for your family members, we've got them here. You can shop around like you do everything else, or maybe you just want them as close to your home as you can get. You should have plenty of options when it comes time if you need assisted living. Another surprise thing is due to the growth and what happened last year, we could end up having a hurricane tax. Yes, I did say hurricane tax. And this is situational. Basically what they're saying now, citizens came out the other day saying that this last storm was so costly and they have so many policies that if another storm should happen, they will not have any choice but to assess all Floridians. Yes, I said all. Even if you don't have a policy with citizens, there may be a assessment to all of us. Just because the fact that they carry so many policies, but they said they'll never fold. It's not a matter of folding. They're not trying to dump everybody and get out. They just need to let you know that these large storms like Ian, it was billions and billions of dollars worth of destruction. If something like that happens again, they just can't keep floating those storms. So they'll have to pass it on. So beware, it's not in place yet. It's in conversation. And should another storm come this year, then we're going to see whether that's going to take place. But God willing, no storms this year, please. Okay, let's talk about inspection issues real quick. I was at an inspection the other day. This is for Brian and Connie. And we were there with the inspector, and I'm listening to the inspector, some of the things he's pointing out, some of the issues, and he said, dude, this is a great home. There's a couple minor things, couple small things, but you know, that's my job. I'm supposed to find this stuff. And we're talking like window latches and door handles and screens that are missing, stuff like that. That's not what we're looking for in an inspection. We're not looking for a reason to have to go renegotiate. That's not the purpose of the inspection. The inspection is to find valid issues that could cost you lots of money later. So if it's an AC that's running on its last leg, if it's a roof that you can't get certified for 5 years or more, those are the things we need to know because they're costly replacements. Even if it's an appliance, we're not going to go overboard if it's a microwave, right? Could you ask for it? Sure. Is there a chance you'll get it? Possibly. But if you don't, we're not going to have a tantrum over it. We're just going to move through the process and do everything else we can. So I just want to put that out there. The inspection is there to protect you on big expenses, not to go after a renegotiation. And police tend to be all over the place with their radar now. So this past week, there's a couple times I was almost in jeopardy. Now, I've started paying attention a little bit more to the speed that I'm driving and trying not to be impatient. And even, you know what? All you out there that know me know that the left lane drivers drive me nuts. But I've even been trying to not that let that bother me, even if it comes down to traveling in the middle lane just so that the left lane drivers don't tick me off. Anyway, they are cracking down. There was a motorcycle cop out today on Pine Island Road. Yesterday, there was 4 of them on one of the ramps to get onto Veterans Parkway with an officer standing around the wall shooting his radar gun back up the road. So you may not always see them. They will hide. And they will get you if you're doing excessive speeding. So, caution, word of caution for now. And it could just be that we're coming into a holiday weekend, but slow down, be a little more patient. Even if you're hurried, give yourself a little bit more time so you don't feel the angst. Trust me, I know what that feels like, and I'm doing my best to adjust. All right, so that's a little bit more about new rules of living in Florida in 2023. So if you have any other questions about living in Florida, moving to Florida, check out one of these other videos. And if you've got a specific question that you need an answer to, you've got to call, text, or email, because I've got your back when moving to the Gulf Coast.